What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, and we are officially off to the races with the NBA offseason. Brad Stevens saw that Desmond Bane got moved, then Kevin Durant got moved, and he said, when is it my turn? And Drew Holiday is no longer a Boston Celtic. We are going to dive into this offseason move, what's coming next, who's coming to Boston, and then draft day tomorrow. But before we do that, if this is your first time here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so you know the next time we're dropping that Celtics daily content. And now, Drew Holiday, thank you for your service, sir. Shams tweeted out last night around 11:30, right as I was going to sleep. All of a sudden, the phone was buzzing like crazy. And here is the deal. The Boston Celtics have traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. According to Shams, Portland is doing this to make an aggressive move to reacquire Holiday because if you remember, Drew Holiday came to Boston from Portland after Giannis made their move to go get Damian Lillard, right? So the reason supposedly that Portland is doing this is because they want to continue to play solid defense. If those of you that didn't watch League Pass Portland Trail Blazers last season, they were a pretty good defensive team. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but I'm going to be honest. I was pretty surprised by this. Now, earlier this season, right, or earlier in the offseason, when we started doing these videos, we were saying, the reports were that the Celtics are going to have to attach other assets to get off of the Drew Holiday contract. And boy, were we wrong. So Anthony Simons comes back, who is a fine player. We're going to talk about Anthony here in a second. They also get 2 second-round picks, right? And the Anthony Simons contract, not only are they saving somewhere around $5 million on this deal, Anthony Simons' contract is expiring. If you remember, Drew Holiday goes for the next couple of years, with the last year being $37 million. So this could mean so many different things. Boston could essentially reroute Anthony Simons to another team to save another $8 to $10 million, which I believe their goal is they need to cut another $15 million, right? So they could still technically just move off of Simons, or they could let the young guy cook in Boston here. Now, for those unfamiliar with Mr. Simons' game, let's get into some of the stuff that he was doing over in Portland, because I know Portland was not the most enticing team to watch basketball with over the last, 5 years or so, specifically since Dame left. But for a career, he has been averaging 19 points, a couple of boards, and almost 5 assists per game for Portland, shooting 42% from 3, 42% from the field, 36% from 3, and 90% from the line. Now, those numbers don't blow you away, but I want to tell you a little bit more about the Simons three-point game, right? So again, it's Portland. He's playing with guys like Scoot Henderson, who has not been the best in the world, Shaedon Sharpe, Yusuf Nurkic when he was there, then Time Lord when he played, DeAndre Ayton. Anthony Simons was asked to do a lot offensively, right? This past season, they brought Denny Avdia, which helped him out quite a bit. But here are the amount of shots this dude was taking per game. Last season, 8.5 threes per game. The season before that, almost 9 threes per game. The season before that, 9 threes per game. So he is shooting this 37% from 3 on volume. And now, again, assuming he stays in Boston, right, and it's not just to reroute to do some salary slashing, think about the way the Celtics play basketball. They shoot, as some of you will say in the chat, too many threes, but boy, does Mazzulla want them chucking. He wants everybody that's on the floor to be able to shoot the 3 ball, right? So now you bring him in this team with guys like Peyton Pritchard, with Derek White, with Jaylen Brown, even their big guys in Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis, if he's still there, all have the ability to knock down the 3 ball. So yes, Simons might come in and still shoot at volume, but I promise you that 36% that he shot this past season is going to be much closer to 40% because he's not going to have to create his own shot time and time again. A lot of those are going to be either catch and shoot or walk right into him because he's got so much more talent surrounded by him. I got to tell you, I am blown away by this deal. I know they said they wanted to try to get a first-round pick at least back, right? But to get somebody who on the expiring contract and still can fill it up, I think there is some serious concern with Simon's defensive ability. But I'm a firm believer that defense is all about effort. Yes, there are individuals who are naturally gifted or just better defenders than others, right? But I do think when you take a player and you put him in a situation where everybody else around him is playing the defense, right? And you're on a swing and I mean on a string and you're playing competitive basketball, you can see everybody's defensive abilities be brought up a level. The guy that sticks out to me the most with this type of play is DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray in San Antonio, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, goes to Atlanta and then immediately regresses. And I think that has more to do with the fact that the team's competitiveness and the team defense, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that are willing to buy in. So yes, Simon's not really the best defender when he was with Portland, but Portland honestly wasn't playing really good basketball for the last 5 years until the second half of the season last season, where even Simon's defensive abilities stepped up a little bit. So, yes, it is a concern, but I do think Simons does fit in pretty nicely with this squad, and it also like alleviates some of the pressure of Peyton Pritchard, because I do think our guy Fast PP, who was Sixth Man of the Year, was going to be asked to do quite a bit coming off the bench. I mean, excuse me, coming from off the bench into the starting lineup, which I'll be honest, I think that still could happen. Simons did plenty of starting, but also coming off the bench last season a little bit because Portland had Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Denny. Like they just had so many different options. So there were times that Simons did come off the bench, and I think he could here for Boston as well. And one of the nice things about when you're playing on an expiring contract, you're playing for that next contract. So even if we only get Simons for 1 year, we might be getting the best of Anthony Simons. So I do think this alleviates some pressure from Peyton Pritchard, who was either, if he does come into the starting lineup, all of a sudden now our bench is absolutely depleted. This is just perfect. And then I just want you to envision with me, okay? We get to the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter. Peyton Pritchard stays out there with the team. Derek White probably comes out. Anthony Simons comes in. You're going to have those two guards just chucking. We're going to start calling them the rainforest when they're in there together with the amount of rain that is going to be falling down from the three-point land. It is going to be a beautiful thing to watch. And I think another underrated part of his game with Anthony Simons is just his, as I mentioned, 5 assists per game, right? If we look at some of the other, like he's got, it was 5 last season, almost 6 the season before that, 4 the season before that. So he's always right there around that 4 or 5 assists. And that's good extra playmaking. Again, knowing that we don't have Tatum this season is pretty huge. And he also, right around 2 turnovers per game. 1.6 for his, 1.6 for his career. So right around that. I don't know. I'm still just like, I'm stunned. I'll be honest. I didn't think they were going to get this much of a return. And again, even if they decide Simons isn't the guy, this is the move. They got off so much salary, and just have to pay Simons for 1 more season. We've talked so much about Anthony Simons, but I do think we got to give Drew Holiday a little bit of love. All right, without Drew, this title doesn't happen. Right, he's a 2-time NBA champion. Obviously, did it with the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis in that season, where he still had one of the most iconic plays of the finals, right? Where he rips the ball away from Booker and then throws in like the heat of the moment in a big time game, this like 3/4 full court alley-oop to Giannis, right? Just insane stuff. But with the Celtics, man, I didn't even realize how long Drew's been in the league. He's been in the league since he's 19. He's 34 right now. It's 16 years in the league. In the 2 years with Boston, right? His first year, he played 69 games with the Celtics, and then 62 last season. And he was just a consummate professional, just really good stuff, right? I know last season his numbers dropped off a little bit. The year before, averaged over 18 points, and just was such a key cog in the Celtics defense. You lost a guy like Marcus Smart the year before, right? And everybody talked about how he lost the heart and soul and whatever. You bring in Drew, and he just comes in and does not even a Marcus Smart impression. He was a better on-ball defender, a better team defender, a better three-point shooter, a better playmaker. Drew did everything, and they don't win the title without him. We saw in postseasons, we've seen Drew guard their best guard, Jalen Brunson was tough this past season, but we've seen him guard Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard when they played the Pacers. We saw him like he's guard Brunson before. They put him on Paolo before. They put him on Giannis when they played the Bucks. Like Drew could just do everything. And I think one of the more underreported things about Drew Holiday, which is done with intention because he tries his best to do it all off the camera, is how he and his wife immerse themselves into the Boston community, helping out wherever he could. I mean, he started so many different foundations, just an incredible dude. And that has been like the story of Drew Holiday for his entire career. Wherever he's gone, he's impacted the communities around him, and I'm sure he will continue to do the same in Portland. I'm fascinated to see if Portland keeps him. I'm sure Drew does not, at this age, 16 years into the league, isn't trying to be part of a rebuild. So if Portland is not going to be a playoff contributor, I could see him trying to get his way out of there. But credit the Celtics front office, credit Brad Stevens, man, because it was a little nerve-wracking when they gave him that extension when they did, but it seems like it's the best of both worlds. Like, yes, of course I'd want Drew here, but they paid him. Drew Holiday got his extension, got his bag, and the Celtics were able to also move off of it to not get screwed by the second apron and get assets back that can both help them win now or also just help them get under the second apron and the luxury tax. So I'm blown away by it. But what Shams went on to continue to say is the Celtics were clearly not done. He went on and said an extremely active offseason begins for the Boston Celtics with the trade of Drew Holiday, who played a critical role in the 2024 NBA championship. The Celtics remain engaged in trade talks surrounding multiple key players on the roster. So that goes back to what we were just saying. Are they going to make a big splash? We know they still want to cut probably around $15 million. Sammy Hauser, I believe, would be 10 of those. You still don't know what Al and Luke are going to do as free agents. We're still figuring out, is it Kristaps Porzingis? Are we going to get blown away by a Jaylen Brown trade? And with the NBA draft, which again we'll touch upon here in a second, starting tomorrow, which, by the way, if you weren't paying attention, we will be there. I will be there at the draft with a press credential and all. Your boy Mike Zakarian from the Celtics Daily will be at the Barclays Center on the floor with a bunch of 7-foot dudes getting life-changing money, and I'll be there with a little microphone. So make sure you're following that, whether you follow our Mike Zakarian NBA Bit channel or you follow me on Instagram at Mike Zakarian. But with the draft coming tomorrow, you have to imagine the Celtics are going to try to get active, whether it's today or leading up until draft night, to make another move to get a better feel for what their roster and salary needs are before they start selecting some of these young guys, right? So, I mean, my money would be on Kristaps Porzingis. I knew there's been him being the one that gets moved. There's been reporting that the Phoenix Suns were kicking some tires around KP. I thought that had more to do with the Kevin Durant trade, but there's still been some rumblings about that. I don't think they're trying to take on massive salary, so I don't see it being somebody like Bradley Beal. Whoa, that would be terrible. But like, pay attention to what Danny Ainge is doing over in Utah. But just we're not done. They are not done. I imagine again it's Porzingis, but for Shams to say critical like players in the Celtics organization, I don't know. Maybe there's some Jaylen Brown buzz. The San Antonio Spurs, obviously, the Houston Rockets still have one move, right? We talked at length about the Kevin Durant trade, but one of the things we didn't say is Houston did not move off of Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd. They still have all of those picks. Like, does Houston try to make one more move to get another wing guy? I don't know. I don't really see it happening. I think it's more likely that it's just Kristaps Porzingis, because I do think the Celtics have kind of made it known with this Anthony Simons trade that they are trying to put on a winning product this season. And I think they are going to accomplish that, because again, Halliburton goes down. The Pacers are not going to be good. The Giannis Bucks don't have anybody else on that roster. The Cavs, we saw who the Cavs were. The East is just wide freaking open. And so I think even without Tatum, and again, prayers up, do whatever you need to do. Maybe there is a chance that Tatum comes back after the All-Star game with this miraculous surgery that happened in like less than 24 hours after he tore his Achilles. I don't know. But it does seem like Boston is going to go out of their way to try to put out a winning product. And I think we are going to find out in the next 48 hours, how much more they're going to do to make that happen. Because again, Drew Holiday was the first domino. We know at least one or two more dominoes are going to fall because financially speaking, they got to do it. But I also think while there's a market out there for KP, and it's not the juiciest stuff, I do think we see him move. Now, just a reminder, the Celtics tomorrow have two. Well, technically, it's a late first and an early second, right? So they have pick 28, they have pick 32. I think if they decide to just select somebody, take a like stay where they are in those spots. Pay attention to the Stanford big man and the Creighton big man. I don't think Cockbrenner from Creighton is going to fall all the way down to 28, but if he does, I could see them taking him. The Stanford guy, I'm now blanket. Maxine Renaud, something like that. I remember it sounded French, but it's not. That's the Stanford big man. Again, both of those guys are like super seniors, so they could like step in right now and play some ball. But I expect the Celtics to go after a big guy. However, if they don't pick at 28 and 32, it means they combine those picks to trade up, or they included another one of those assets that we're talking about, whether it's Sam Hauser, Kristaps Porzingis, or even Jaylen Brown. So we'll have to keep an eye, but Brad is wheeling and dealing, and anybody that doubted the Celtics' ability, myself included, earlier in this offseason, I thought for sure Drew Holiday was going to cost us a first-round draft pick, or at least something else. I did not, and then, though you weren't paying attention yesterday, Daniel Gafford signed an extension with the Dallas Mavericks, so I was like, I don't think Drew's going to Dallas anymore. And then bang, Brad Stevens reminds us that he is the president, baby. He's been our president since he came from Butler to coach the Celtics team, always overachieving with the roster he had. And now he's doing it in the front office, finding ways to get under the salary cap while also making the Celtics a better team. So Drew Holiday, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for the chip. Anthony Simons, I hope you like clam chowder and Sammy Adams, kid, because welcome to Boston. Thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe on the way out. We'll see you next time.